Welcome to the What the Shuck podcast. The goal of the What the Shuck podcast is to provide a platform to people that are influential or that have in some way helped to change my life or to help me to move in the direction that I'm moving in now. So my next guest is probably one of the most influential people to me as someone who would like to add influence into the culture of Kentucky, especially Appalachia. But this guy has, since I've been a very young guy, always been a musician, an athlete, a person that was active in the community and just doing things to help people be better, and also just setting the standard for me to want to be a better person, whether it was through art or just as a person. So I just really want to thank my next guest for coming on, Mr. Nick Jamerson. Thank you so much, dude.
Yeah, man. Thank you for having me.
This has been a really long time coming, but this is going to be a little bit different than the things that I typically do because I think you're actually going to play a little bit of music for us. But I am really excited because, like I said, growing up, you were really good friends with my cousins and you were playing music with them. So I was always around you, and I actually met you because you were playing in a church band with my family called Crosswalk. Yeah. So that was pretty fun. And just seeing you grow as an artist and the things that you've gone through, and you can see it through the things that you write and your sound, and even from when you were in Sunday Best at the beginning to when you finished with Sunday Best the first time to when you're releasing the album that you just released, it's like crazy how much better you've gotten as just a singer, as a songwriter, like the production, everything top to bottom. It's been really, really fun to just see you put this craft together. And I was just going back and listening to some of the Sunday Best songs from earlier, and it was just like, wow, like it's crazy, like literally hearing the production quality, just how much better you've gotten at that, and just learning how to produce an album. And your last album was a compilation album, and it's just like seeing you learn to build this craft over time. Also,
oh my gosh. Oh my gosh, that is a throwback right there. Matt Setzer, right? Yeah. I was like, that's got to be his jersey. Man.
But anyway, so I've been saving that.
That is unbelievable.
But so you've always been a pretty big influence to me, and seeing this music and this talent just grow and grow and grow, and the influence that you're able to make. And like I said, I've messaged you and Chris several times and been like, I literally have a podcast because I saw what you all were doing. And even though it's not music, I saw that there were people who were like immensely talented in the area, and people who wanted to help people be better or whatever it was, just to be influential. And I was like, if they can do that, I could potentially do that with the things I want to do. Mm-hmm. And there's really a huge upcoming in the area. But sorry to blow you up a little bit, but dude, I really just I'm a big fan of yours and what you do. So just thanks for coming on, man.
Yeah, man. I'm excited to be here, and thank you. And I'm excited for you in this podcast and the intention you have behind it. And we need stuff like this, people just having conversations with each other about the things that you're already talking about and we're going to talk about. So thank you.
Yeah, and dude, we've been having awesome conversations even before we even started. But it's really cool to see people that have these open minds in this area where it's not necessarily expected, where we talked about where there's so many stigmas in the area about how you don't necessarily think that this person's going to be able to have this really in-depth conversation or be able to talk about these like things that are going on in medicine or going on in culture. And it's like, whoa, like I thought that was just some simpleton or whatever. It's just like, if you really, really believe those things, then we put ourselves in a box when we do that. And there's so many stigmas that we live by in life. And we were just talking about, even with the election, it's like, dude, we've literally not even been like, who you vote for, blah, blah. It's literally like, we've been talking about like, hey, we have this whole thing wrong, like the way we're looking about politics. It's like, you fix the system by being a good person and promoting to be a better person, not by being someone who's going to call someone out. It's like, what I really, really hate about politics, and I hate to talk about politics, but it's like, is if you have to talk about what someone else isn't doing right in order to promote yourself to be better, then what are you doing right yourself? And that's like the complete opposite of what I want to do in my podcast. That's literally why I decided I don't want to go into politics, because I was like, if that's the mechanism for you to have to build yourself to success, then that's not anything I want to have any part with. Yeah. And that's why it's so empowering for me to be able to talk to people and to hopefully potentially do the same influence that maybe we can kick that stigma of being a politician, and maybe this is the new way, is to like just talk about new ideas and spreading new ideas and vocations.
I think so. Letting those old ways sort of die and start talking about solutions instead of wasting our energy just throwing mud at each other, for our own, like me being mad at you because of who you vote for and blaming that on why my life is the way it is. It's like the one thing I think with politics now is like there's no sort of personal responsibility that anybody wants to take for anything they do. It's like Donald Trump gets called out for something, it's, well, this is what someone else did, and I say him, he's an easy target, but he's the president, It's like, I think that he put himself in that position to be a target, but I think that it's, Biden is just as guilty. I think that, and I don't want to talk about politics either, but I think it's a real thing where it's like, these are our leaders. These are the people that are supposed to lead our country, and like, they're leading the collective, So it's like interpersonal qualities and how they communicate is very important. It's not just policies. It's not just how well the economy's doing, because it's just like, well, what difference does the economy matter if everybody's mentally ill from depression and anxiety, and they don't know how to deal with people that have different opinions than them? Mm-hmm. It's like you said, we box each other in, and I think our politicians have set this tone that if you believe this, then you're automatically this. I had someone, I was having a conversation with someone about the Black Lives Matter stuff, and they were like, well, does that mean you wanted to defund the police? I'm like, what? No. And it's like, again, I think that some causes, Black Lives Matter, I think that real causes get exploited by people. Mm-hmm. It's like, I don't know that in the depths of the Black Lives Matter organization, I know that there are real issues that of racism in this world that are real, but you can't just link that in with an entire party or an entire, you know what I'm saying?
Oh, you're sad that people were being oppressed. You must be a Democrat.
Yeah.
Like, wait, what?
I know. What? That's just ridiculous. No. It's ridiculous.
It's like I couldn't be either side, actually.
Yeah, that's exactly right. So, I think that it's always been the case. I think we've just gotten to this point in society where it's perpetuated itself to where right here, Donald Trump's our president, and that's the new normal, and that's all personal stuff. That most people are talking about policies and things like that. I'm talking about, I want to talk about people as people, mm-hmm. not as numbers and statistics and generalizations. Because again, like you said, when you box people in, then you limit what they can be, and that's just, this whole year has just been like, it's made me really think about who am I? Who am I? What am I? What am I? And like, you know,
What do I stand for?
what do I stand for? And is there more I could do? Am I? Just asking all those questions, you know, and so I think it's been good in that way. Mm-hmm. It's like everything, all this ugly stuff has come to the surface, and it's like it just made us all question what we'd been living in. So I think it's been good in that way.
I think it's good to be uncomfortable sometimes because it makes you question the norm of what's happening. When you have to like put yourself into a new circumstance or a new comfortable, like you said, like this is the new norm. It's like, well, is this what I want to be the new norm? And it's like, as someone who's been through quite the journey myself, like with losing all the weight that I've lost, it's like if I would have chosen to like stay the same way, I would have never changed. And it's like I was putting myself in the box that I was like always going to be that way. Mm-hmm. And if I always stuck with that mindset, that's where I would always be. And it was like once I really chose to be like, all right, like if you just choose to work and to choose to always to be willing to maybe pick up a new idea or to be picking up a new skill in some way and be moving towards progress, then you will literally make yourself be a better person. And it's like if you constantly move with that momentum every single day, no matter what you go through, whether it's the worst day or whether it's the best day, like you will literally look back in like 2 or 3 years like I have and be like, all right, like, wow. Like I'm a completely different person. And it's not that I don't have the same beliefs and I'm not the same person. It's just that I have the energy to do the things that I always wanted to do. And it's like when you live with those limiting beliefs, you limit your energy.
Yes.
And whether it's limiting your beliefs in politics or limiting your beliefs in what you're going to be as a musician or limiting your beliefs in your transformation and weight loss, or if you're going to make it through coronavirus as a professional, as a business owner, it's like if you choose to just sit there and take the punishment and not pivot, or to like if you allow yourself to be the victim, then that's what you'll be. Like it's literally what you'll be, and there's no other way to fix it. Like it's, and the thing about excuses is like they're true. Like if you choose to let them be true, then that's what they'll be. And it's like if you don't break through that barrier and that plateau, then you'll be stuck. And as a musician, as a person, like as someone who is about to be a dad, like it's like obvious that you've probably been through these things, like as someone who's been in relationships, as someone who's just like a human. Mm-hmm. And it's like we tend to forget that just because you don't have the exact beliefs as I do, that we're pretty similar at the end of the day.
Yeah, we all want and need generally the same thing. So it's just like, you know, with being a father. My baby's supposed to be born here. I mean, she could come anytime. Hopefully, she waits till December. But you know, the process is different for everyone, which is awesome. It's been really liberating to be like, not feel like we have to go through the process the same as anybody else. But it's like, but at the same time, it's like those babies are all coming from the same place. You know what I'm saying? Like as far as like a different, you know, whether it's heaven or whatever you want to call it, like that soul is coming from somewhere else. But to me, it's like it's all the same. We're all the thing that creates us, God, whatever. It's like
it's pretty obvious.
It's obvious.
If you just literally look at another person, you're like, all right, they're made by the same.
They're
thing.
alive.
Yeah,
they're alive. I'm alive.
Whatever they were created by, I was probably created by too.
Yeah, so it's like, you know, and that's the thing. It's like people that talk about an omnipresent God. It's like, well, omnipresent means everywhere. It means me and you, and it's like it's so easy to like see people through this filter and be like, oh wait, maybe that's just God trying to show me something. You know, maybe that's the universe trying to show me where my triggers are and what I need to work on. You know, it's like I get mad at, we're sticking on politics, you know, it's like I'll get triggered by some Democrat down the road, and it's like, well, maybe I shouldn't be limiting him to a Democrat. Mm-hmm. And like, no matter what he says, that has nothing to do with my identity as a person. You know what I'm saying? It's like, it's learning how to like, all this noise is like going on down here of all these worldly boxes, and it's like learning how to me to like just transcend it. Like we're floating up above it, you know? I think that's, and with raising a child, it's like I'm trying, you know, thinking about what I want to instill in her. And personally, it's just been like, I just, you know, it's sticking close to God, you know, and or whatever you want to, you know, I say God, and I tell you for a long time, it's been like, that's been a dirty word for me, because I felt like it's been so bastardized and abused by people to
I think that's just a thing we come from this area, that it's just the same way as Donald Trump. It's like people are like, oh, preacher so-and-so is going to save us. Exactly.
And I just don't think it works in the way that it's preached a lot. It's like, you come here today and you know, you come today and it's all going to be okay. It's like, man, the journey, as you know, the journey to real change is not overnight. It's a life's work.
It's really like moment by moment.
It is. It totally is. Like your awareness and where you put your energy, your thought. That's how you create reality. Your own reality is, and that is, man, I don't know about you, but I can get off track really easy. Like something can swoop in and just like take me off my game, and I have to like regroup and ground myself and be like, whoa, I just about got swept away in something that wasn't even real. That distracted me from like the big picture of life and what's important. And it's you know, and that's back to the personal responsibility thing of people just taking responsibility for themselves and their thoughts and their actions. I think that social media is such a scapegoat. We can go on there and we can bitch about whatever we want to and be mad at whoever, and all that is a distraction for us and what we're upset about in ourselves is what I think. It's like
you're painting the reflection of what you're dealing with.
Mirrors. That's right.
I think that's even in just all of society. It's just like what people are being judged for by, like, when I would see as like, rather it was as a musician or rather it was trying to get fit, which I'm not a musician, but I'm just saying, like, if you see someone who's like trying to start becoming a musician, they don't sound very good, and you're like, haha, you suck. And it's like, well, like, you acting like that is not gonna like allow them to like actualize their potential.
It's not conducive to like a solution, to a goal.
Why did you even do that?
Yeah.
Is the way I look at it. Because like used to, when I was weak and I would look at someone who was trying to be fit, I would be like, haha, that dude's fit. Look at him trying to be a tryhard over there. And it's really because I was like, man, I wish I was trying hard.
Yeah.
It's really what,
because you didn't want to do it.
I wish I was trying hard. Is really what I was saying. Ha, that guy's a tryhard, and it was really me painting my insecurities on him.
That's right. I had a hard time during the early Sunday best days of like haters. Took it very personal, and you know, it's still hard. You know, when people just blindly talk shit, but I'm at the point now where it's like, that's on them. If they want to hold that space to sow dissension and hate into what they're doing and their words, karma's real. You know, we reap what we sow. We truly do, and that's been a thing too, of letting me trying to let go of like feeling like I have to make someone pay for what they do, or I just can't. We only have so much control, you know. We only have so much space that we have within us, and yeah, it's just learning to like transcend the bullshit, you know, and
you have to literally have like a frequency around you of like
force field.
Yeah,
force field of like.
Well, I know that you meditate, and I know that we were actually just talking about how when like in the current, like the way that what you would expect to how someone would typically attack depression, you try to numb the problem. That's like almost like what a lot of people do, unless you're actually going to like a psychiatrist or you're doing therapy or like meditation or.
I think that anything that we love, that we're like hyper in the moment, to me is like meditation and like therapy. You know, I think that, you know, even talking about those things, I think it's also, because I have those talks with people all the time that they're like, well, for me, yoga is out riding my mountain bike. So it's like, whatever, but
for me, it's podcast.
Exactly. It's just finding that thing that you can put yourself into the moment in, and just that's what yoga is. It's the practice of that. And meditation is to me, it's the practice of being in the moment, like hyper awareness in the moment. And when you're in the moment, you have everything if you can be there, but there's just so many other things that distract us from being in the moment, usually worrying about having enough, that scarcity mindset of like, I'm not going to have enough. I've got to control the situation to make sure that I have enough, when in reality I feel like sometimes we just have to allow things to happen. We have to allow the work that we've done to just manifest things, and it's like you put these podcasts out and it doesn't just happen. It's got to be out in the ether for a while for people to.
Dude, a lot of people don't even, honestly, straight up, a lot of people don't even listen to my podcast.
But they will. I don't even care. The people that listen to it are going to share it, and then it's just going to get passed around. Yeah. And in a year, just by the process of you doing it, it's going to grow. But
I know people like Nick Jamerson and the people I've had on my podcast wouldn't be coming on it if it wasn't like of substance. Like, and that's why I completely believe in it. People see what I'm doing and they're like, this guy's trying to be inspirational and try to make people be better versions. And what we were talking about, just try to make democracy be better. Like, we're the people that encourage it at the end of the day. It's like you do it through music, like I do it through podcasting and like through fitness, and it's like we all each have our own role of how to make this country be better. It's like we keep waiting on the white knight to do it, but we are all the white knight. Like, we're the person that's supposed to buckle up and say, hey, cavalry's here, like, let's save the day. Yeah. Like, it's on us.
Yeah. And back to what you were getting at with like mental health, it's like we have to be that for ourselves, and I don't know where you want to go with the treatment for that stuff.
I think it's a stigmatized thing, and it's like being studied. So like, I don't care to talk about it. Like, I think it's important to talk about it because if it's being studied at universities like Johns Hopkins and like New York University, it's like these are some of the most respected medical universities that are talking about the effects of psilocybin and DMT and ketamine with therapy of like depression, what's the post-traumatic stress syndrome, PTSD, and even I think that it helps with people who are suffering from what's the head injury, CTE. So it's like if there's like an actual thing that you can give to people that they're non-addicted to, and it in a medicated area with a professional that's going to guide you through it. It's like, if you're showing all these studies, why is this so dogmatic? Why is it such a stigma? And it's like what you were talking about. It's like that should show us that there's an agenda being pushed by the big pharma.
For sure.
And it's just like, how are we not talking about that? Like, if these big places are talking about it. And so if you care to talk about a little bit about how just like, I don't know, maybe what we were elaborating on as far as just how it makes you truly take it on the problems that you're facing.
Yeah, well, the conversation for people listening, we were talking about how it was the difference between, there was two sort of schools of thought as far as approaching mental health issues and how it's medicated, and then there's the sort of, I guess, traditional way of like antidepressants, nerve pills and things like that, which I was prescribed. I was diagnosed as depressed as a 16-year-old, 17-year-old, and prescribed Xanax,
Which is crazy.
We're
literally like that. You're telling someone they need to be on Xanax, and you're like, "Whoa, you're the professional."
And I'm a kid, you know, like, and like so many people. That's all it takes is a couple times taking those pills and being like, "Oh, I like that," and then they're hooked for life, and they don't get the hooks don't come out. Luckily, I was like, I don't like how this makes me feel, but I also was dabbling. That was when I was starting to drink a little beer, sneaking and drinking beer, and I knew that I shouldn't be doing both. So I was like, well, I'd rather drink alcohol. I'd rather be able to drink than take this, and not that alcohol's any better, you know, for a 17-year-old, but but you know, the thought of I feel like a lot of those medicines that doctors prescribe it's more of a numbing and a dulling, and like it'll keep you from going too far down. But I think what also happens is it keeps you from being too far up. You know, you're not really living a dynamic existence. You're just like, you're in the middle, this middle comfortable spectrum. And, you know, talking about that approach, and now, you know, we're talking about this with psychedelics and how it's just been being looked at from a medicinal perspective instead of just recreational, and how in psychedelics, just the times that I've you know, psilocybin or LSD or even marijuana, you know, it has the capacity to, like, it will show you what you need to look at. You know what I'm saying? It's like people will have these bad trips, or they'll like freak out, and it's because they're having, like, something's coming to the surface.
Yes. Something
that has been buried emotionally, usually, or just something that you're just not dealing with. It comes to the surface, and you have to deal with it. And it can be uncomfortable.
It's scary.
It is, like, you know,
someone who went to college and found out.
You know, the first time I ever ate like too much marijuana, like, it was these cupcakes that a bartender down at Redmond's had made for me and Chris.
Good old Redmond's.
And we had been out all night and drinking some, and, you know, alcohol definitely will mess when you're mixing that with those two. You know, a lot can happen. But I thought I was dying. I thought I was having a heart attack, and I was like melting in the floor, and I couldn't do anything. I was just so in my head. And like, you know, it's like one of those things where you have to, it's almost like a self-induced panic attack.
Yeah.
You know, it's like everything hits you so much so fast, and if you resist it, if you don't accept it and let it just, you know, basically work itself out, then you're gonna, and I feel like that's such a parallel in life. You know, it's like we resist so much instead of letting things happen, and we think we know what our experience is supposed to be like, but we're not God. We don't know everything. We just, a lot of things are just kind of happening, and we don't always know the context of things right in the moment. That's why time is so messed up, you know, because this concept of how we think things are supposed to happen, it's like this sort of linear way of thinking. It's like, really it doesn't
ever actually.
It's a cyclical cycle, you know, and so I think that I'm excited to see what happens the next 50 years with mental health and just human consciousness, and like, but just becoming more aware of our thoughts. And that's what I wanted to get at with the psychedelics. It just makes you more, it can, you know, it depends on what your intention is, you know. I've definitely just, you know, it's just, you're having a good time, it feels good, but in more recent years, like, a lot of intention behind it, you know, like it's like it's a sacrament. It's like, I'm going to take this because it expands
You sacrifice your ego.
You do. Yeah, that's exactly right. You know, the whole thing with having a bad trip and it being too much, it's like you have to surrender your ego. You got to let it go, or that, man, 100 milligram gummy will humble any man.
Yes, even edibles, like weed edibles. Yes.
Yeah.
There's people that are like, oh, I can do that. It's like, nope. That's why you hear cops that are like calling cops and being like, hey, I ate these brownies and I'm tripping right now. There's actually a study that was done by Johns Hopkins University, and it was linked to addiction and for heroin and alcohol, and it was being studied until it was found that LSD would be scheduled as an illegal drug in 1968. And then Johns Hopkins has been studying as recent as 2019. They were studying the effects of psychedelics on, let's see, looks like, it says it could treat Alzheimer's, depression, and addiction, which is like 3 massive things, literally. And this is a quote from the Dr. Roland Griffiths, as the pharmacologist and professor at Johns Hopkins. So, no big deal. He says that this could be an entirely new paradigm for treating psychiatric disorders. So it's like when you hear things like that, it is very exciting to talk about that and like talk about how people could have an alternative to ADD medication or depression medication or PTSD or CTE that are going to be non-addictive and also actually stimulate the brain to promote those neuropathways to reconnect.
Yes. Yeah, for me it's like, all of this is, the goal for all of it should be to not have to have any of it. You know what I'm saying? Like, when I'm talking about these things, it's like, I don't want it to sound like you need to go out and do a bunch of LSD and like, that's going to save you and cure all your problems, that's just delusional. But
looking like this guy back here.
Yeah, all the time, but if I'll say this, since my first LSD experience in 2016, it was at Bonnaroo. It was awesome.
Makes sense.
Leon Bridges.
Great musician.
Big Boy from Outkast.
That's a duo.
Yeah, it was awesome.
Sheesh.
It's really, I had been on the back end of like, really, of the Redmond's days, like with alcohol and like heavy alcohol usage. Like I had already moved past it, but it curbed it so much. Like I got, you come back and it was like one hit of acid. It wasn't like a huge dose or anything, but it changed. Like it'll change you, but
it kills the ego.
Yeah. Well, I was, there was kind of fear there of like just the unknown of like what was going to happen, I don't think I really drank much, like, and I still don't, and it's just, I think that awareness, you feel what it's like to be alive and like really alive and feel good and like hyper in the moment and the capacity of your brain, like when it's focused on something good. Like we were talking before we started, it's like, I think that those experiences with psychedelics, it opens the door. It opens the door to like possibilities of what our realities can be. When we come back, it's up to us to walk through that door and like create that reality, I think, of just like hyper awareness, like of living in the moment, focused, and like we talked about with that last podcast we were on, that whole record was about the wheel. Ultimately, like my journey has been about just like harnessing my free will and my attention, and where am I putting my attention? Where am I putting my energy? And is it conducive? Is where I'm putting my thoughts and energy, is it in line with my core values and like goals of my life? And it was not. We spend so much of our time distracted and like looking at our phones, and like I heard someone say that our phones are really like it's a dream world. It's like our subconscious, because we're just like going to exactly what we want to,
I guess that makes sense. Like,
it does.
It's almost like that is a matrix in itself.
Yeah, totally. It's a completely different thing, and
wow.
Yeah,
that's kind of creepy.
I know, to think about.
Goosebumps.
Yeah, to think about it like that, and so it's like just learning how to focus on what's important, and not a bunch of bullshit that's just sending us in circles, and like always in like just stressed and like worry. It's like Tom Petty's got a lyric. It's like the most things I worry about never happen anyway.
Mm-hmm. It's like the truest words to live by, man.
Yeah.
We're like our own worst enemy when it comes to like beating ourselves up about stuff that literally is never ever going to happen.
doesn't ever. This past year, I was really worried about getting my van out to Colorado. I was supposed to go on a bunch of shows out there, and didn't play the gigs.
Yeah.
Corona came, and I didn't have to go out there. My van didn't have to make that trek, so I was like, I was worried about nothing.
Yeah.
It wasn't even going to happen. So, but the way that I've had to, with Will, I'll come back to the yoga and meditation. It's like, that's what that time is. It's like you were waking up and you were tuning in. You're like, I'm going to tune in to this frequency that I can, like, of peace. Basically, it's like I start out of like going to the mat, even when I don't want to. You don't. There's days you don't want to run.
Dude,
you got to go though.
Yes.
You got to go, and you open your body up, and you reconnect with that openness and that space, and like, so then that's who you are. You're like, that's who I am. That's where my power is. And
well, if you can make it through those moments, is what you learn. You're like, oh, this is not comfortable. Oh, why am I doing? Wait, I'm choosing to do this.
Yeah.
Wait. I can choose to do this. Oh, then I can choose to fight through a moment that's like,
that's right.
It's not even half as hard as this.
That's right.
Like,
that's right.
Just building an indomitable will at the end of the day is really what it is.
Yes, and we have to. We have to. And to circle even back around to the politicians, that's what our leaders need to be telling us. You know what I'm saying? Like, I think that the people that are like in these positions with these huge platforms, it's like, if you're not talking to me about those things, then it's bullshit to me.
Yeah.
If we're not talking about that, then you're just talking about more distraction.
I don't even know what Amy McGrath or Mitch McConnell have talked about to benefit Kentucky literally in any way.
Yeah, no, I don't either.
And like, man, the biggest thing of my podcast is like, there's so many people in this area that struggle from obesity and sicknesses that are related to obesity. So I was telling the Ravencraft bros, and I was like, literally my goal is to like either try to run the distance of the Mountain Parkway or like run the Mountain Parkway to raise money for all the counties in the area that are affected by obesity, and like just do that to raise awareness, because I was like, that's a pretty significant thing to do. I feel like you could probably raise some decent cheddar for that.
Most definitely.
And because it's like 92 miles, and it's like, that's one of the things I was wanting to talk about. And then also another thing I want to talk about is like leadership style retreat, and I want to call it it's like and it's going to be called like Appalachian Pioneer Program.
Oh wow.
And it's going to be like related around like going to somewhere in Appalachia, having a bunch of cool people like that are musicians,
like the Mountain Art Center.
Well, just like
I'm shamelessly plugging.
Well, also we're at the Mountain Art Center. Thank you all to them for having us. I didn't expect to be here, but I really am appreciative. This is a place that I've always came to, and it was like to actually be able to have an interview here is kind of surreal. You've probably played here a few times.
Yeah, a bunch. I made NJ record here.
Okay.
So, and
that's actually really cool.
Went to had piano lessons next door, and we had an honor choir here. And so I actually worked here.
Cut your teeth here.
I did. I worked in the concession stand here, so.
But the app program that I want to do, Appalachian Pioneer Program, I want to go to like cool areas and have like a retreat and have leaders in the area come talk to rather musicians and like entrepreneurs, politicians, professors, anybody that wants to come that like I'm gonna like start sending out like stuff to kind of like, I want it to be prestigious. I want it to be people who want to encourage people to be better and to make this area better. And then by like year 2, what my goal is that I will no longer be inviting people, that they'll be inviting one person that they believe brings substance to the group. And then by like, the goal is by the end, hopefully when I'm dead, that there's like 1 million people in the app program, whether they're from Appalachia or not, and they're all like promoting people to be better versions of each other. So it's just like, if you work towards that kind of goal, it's like, that sounds really crazy and unlikely, but it's like, until I try to do it, it's not possible. So it's like, that's the same thing as like, you worried about a van. It's like, that's just as unlikely too. So it's like, you know, it's like there's 2 ways to that road. You can visualize good things and you can visualize bad things.
Be defeated before you even start.
Yeah, but it's good that you have a sentient that makes sure that you do encourage it, because like, you are what you think. So if you're like, I'm gonna do this, I'm gonna be the best, I'm Nicholas Jamerson, and my next album's gonna be the best. And it's like, dude, if you really, really put in the work and you really constantly believe that, it sounds really dumb, but it's like, you actually will put in that work. And it's just like human physiology. It's how we work, as our bodies work. It's how our mind works. And it's just like learning to hone those skills. And you obviously have had to do that. Like, but I really, really just want to encourage Kentucky to be better in the area. And so it's cool that by you influencing me to do that, to have a podcast that it's like, when I was making my goals at the beginning of my podcast, I never had a vision of something like that. But it's like, as I've kept doing it, like, it's probably like when you and Chris were starting Sunday Best, you all were probably like, we're just playing in a bar. It's like, and then it's like, oh shit, we're on CMT.
Yeah, then the path widens. You're like, wait a minute, there's all kinds of potential here for anything.
Yes.
Whatever we want to create.
It's whatever you want to create.
It's just walking the walk and seeing things through. That's the thing, is like, it comes back to the wheel. It's like, this whole life outside of, I feel like, a corporate 9 to 5, it's never ending. You know, it's like, you don't really get to turn it off a lot, and it's a grind, you know, and there's a lot of uncomfortability that comes with uncertainty. It's like, you have to learn to be comfortable in the void, you know, of not knowing what's going to happen, of, especially when there's not a direct correlation of time put in and like meaningful experience and money. You know what I'm saying? Like, those 2 things, it's just, those things just aren't always hand in hand, you know? So it's just learning to, if you're a podcaster, then podcast. Make them, do it until you don't want to anymore. If you're a musician, write songs, play your instrument, whatever it is, because it's like, I think so many people now, we get caught up in like how things look instead of what they are. Like, taking the picture of me playing a guitar and like, I want you to come look at me at my gig, instead of like just being a musician. That's what you do. That's not who you are. You know what I'm saying? Like, we want to be the roles, but we don't.
You want to be a beast, but you want to put it in beast mode.
Yeah, it's perfect. Yeah, that's exactly right. And that's just, I think, to me, approaching it that way, it's like, well, I'm not looking for approval. I'm not basing my worth off of my accomplishments, because accomplishments are that's other people's business. You know, it's like, I can only create what I can create. I can only control what I can control, and it's just a waste of energy to worry about. I'm not saying I'm not guilty of it, that I haven't been, of being like, well, I feel like I'm being left out, or I wish that was me. I think it's human nature to do that, but it's just like, it's being able to have awareness and not letting it consume you, of like, okay, yeah, I thought that thought, well, that's, you know, it is what it is, but just not getting hung up on things. And it's, again, putting that will into things that matter, that are like conducive to supporting your life, and worry is not conducive to anybody. So
Dude, to touch on a little bit what you're talking about. So, someone one time said, "What if no one ever listens to your podcast?" And I was like, well, "Then I wasn't doing it for the right reason anyway. I wasn't doing it for myself." And that's like why it's called the What the Shuck podcast. It's who I am. It's like me. And it's like if you're not doing it for yourself, then you're never gonna finish the mission. Like
Exactly.
And then if you can add other influences to make you be more like maybe you have a rough day and you're like, man, I really want to do this, and you're like, maybe you do have to use that little hack of like, hey, I want to do this for my mom or dad, or I want to do it for whatever to
for
lift
community.
you up sometimes. Yeah,
for sure.
But before like dance monkey dance kind of thing, I would love to see you play some guitar.
Sure.
But also, you were talking about how you have to be ready to be in that void of unknown. And I actually was unaware of what it was, but I heard you talking about it in a video recently, and then I went and looked, and I was like, all right, that's actually really cool. But your Patreon, to touch on that a little bit, I actually didn't know what Patreon is, but I'm sure a lot of musicians are using this right now. But with not being able to do shows and stuff and wanting to be able to still do music, that is probably a pivot you've had to take.
Yeah.
And that's also given you the ability to release music kind of when you want to, though. Mm-hmm. So talk a little bit about that, and how that's been like a blessing or maybe a curse, or just how you've used that to your advantage because of Corona.
Okay.
And then maybe play a couple songs for us.
Yeah, sure. Patreon was something that I'd heard about, hadn't really ever seriously considered. I did this digital artist retreat early in the springtime, which was basically just like I was fleshing out every creative idea that I had with this other person. Her name was Holly Dixon. She's really, the whole thing was really transformative. Just getting everything out onto the table, and she kind of helped me organize it. And Patreon was just something that she suggested with her experiences from managing artists. And I feel like what it is, it's really like, it kind of feels like just your people are paying to follow you in some sense. It's a subscription-based platform where people, based off that, they pay you a certain amount of money a month, and depending on what tier they are, they get different incentives. So it's been cool because I feel like social media, there's a lot of just, you don't always reach the people that want to hear you the most because of algorithms and all the other things that are online. And just the sheer volume of information on Facebook is ridiculous.
It
and
is.
Instagram, and I just don't have it in me to play that game.
Comb through the bullshit.
No, and just try to just scream for my spot on top of the mountain, because I'm having a kid. There's more important things in my life than trying to talk over people, basically. And so Patreon, it feels like it's like if you want to come and be there and be a part of my process, and it's a lot of these kind of conversations, really, and it's freed me to do that because I think I felt like, at least on Facebook, that I had a music page and people were there for music. And, I love philosophy and just spirituality and sports and politics and all these other things that are interwoven that...
I believe one time, sorry to interrupt, that I read that you were known as the hillbilly apostle.
It was something like that, like Appalachian apostle or something. Yeah.
I was like, that's actually badass.
I saw that too.
I love that.
Yeah, no, I mean, I think that there's room for it all. Growing up in church, that was a big part of who I am, and it's a big part of all of us. And I think that there's so many different archetypes throughout philosophy and religion, different religions that are so similar. Mm-hmm. It's these similar themes, and for me, I'm like seeing all the themes, and so it's like, I don't know. I just like talking about it. I think that there's this knowledge that I think that is in all humans that's being expressed in these different forms, and it's back to what we were saying about all being made up of the same thing. It's like, here are all these, you look at I'm not discrediting any of the religious, with Jesus, and they're all teachers to me, mm-hmm. And I'm trying to not get caught up in what they are. And
I think you can learn a lesson from a tree, dude, if you look at it long enough.
Star Wars.
That sounds stupid.
No, I've got a song that's not been written yet that's like, be a tree.
Yeah.
It's like, trees aren't looking around at other trees like and judging them. They're just like standing. They're just like standing up and like being grounded in the earth. And yeah, you could learn a lot from a tree and just being out in nature. And so that's just something I'm more open to now. I think that I tried to like hide that part of myself because of just, again, how the old narrative of that whole thing of. And for me, it's like I'm learning how to make all that church, how can I apply it to real life? How can I use what Jesus was talking about to get me through this life?
There's lessons to be learned from it, whether you're religious or you're not. It's a philosophy that can be applied to just be a good person.
Exactly. That second verse in Golden Shores, it's, man fell in love with a Savior. They said that Jesus would bail them out. But then you blame it on the devil just to crucify rebels and never see what life is really about. At first, that was kind of a shot at Christianity. Mm-hmm. It was like, you want Jesus, you're like, Jesus is my Savior. But then you turn around and you crucify someone for being a Republican. That ain't Jesus. Mm-hmm. That's not what Jesus was talking about. But people they're like, well, I'm a Christian. Well, why do we compartmentalize our lives? Why can we be anti that? Or we're going down a rabbit hole here with this stuff, but but then it was like me, I'm talking to myself, it was like I was blaming others for why I wasn't listening to Jesus. Mm-hmm. Or at least taking his lessons into consideration. You know what I'm saying? As just a teacher, not as the Son of God or the Virgin Mary. I mean, if that there's different beliefs in all that stuff, and I'm not saying anything's right or wrong. There's similar tales throughout history of a virgin birth, of a Savior and all that stuff, and that's fact. And
dude, we're gonna have to have more podcasts because we have some definite rabbit holes.
Yeah. So anyway, Patreon. I'm talking. I get into all that stuff, and I feel like I'm trying to be as open and as authentic and not holding anything back in that space. And it's like if people want to be there, they can be there, and that's what's been so liberating. It's like if you're there, I know it's because you want to be there and you're supportive of. And I'm also sharing a lot of song, aside from the philosophical, existential talks, it's like a lot of music. Mm-hmm. And just being able to share that live in real time and not have to go through the bullshit timeline that the music industry, like, that we fall in. It's like, I just want to write something and give it.
It allows the person that's listening to your art to truly be more in the art.
Yeah, it's like,
hey, this literally just happened to me yesterday while I was at the grocery store.
Yes, that's exactly right. I wrote this in the Walmart parking lot. Here it is. This is what I was thinking when I wrote it. Here's the story. It's so much.
Think about Edgar Allan Poe. If he was like, "Oh, dude, that's dope. I could tweet that out, and people would read this sweet poem I just read." Hell yeah.
Yeah, and then it's like just getting in that flow for me, like creatively. It's like, well, then I can just do it. And then I don't have to think about it.
Sorry, how long will you guys be
We can finish pretty soon if we need to. Do we need to?
Well, everybody's gone. I was closing it.
Okay. Yeah.
Some kids taking voice lessons over here, but I didn't know how long you were supposed to be here. So.
I think he was gonna play maybe like two songs and then we can get out. Is that okay?
Okay. What I'm gonna do is I'll just lock the doors. You just go out and you go out. Just make sure the door's locked.
Okay.
Okay.
You can go out front.
Okay.
Thank you, Miss.
Thank you.
So much.
I thought we were in trouble.
First blooper on the What the Shuck podcast.
Yeah, it's real life.
40 episodes in, there's not been anything like that happen yet. That's kind of funny.
Yeah. I thought they were going to have like practice or something in here, but.
Me too, I was like, oh crap.
Yeah, but I
was like, well, you guys are going to have to watch him play.
Yeah. Oh. But yeah, it's been a really, it feels more organic, you know, and just, I have seen a lot pop up of just like people that have a service, you know, or small business. I know that the Sugar Camp Mountain, like the people that do all the mountain bike trails around here, they have a Patreon too, you know. So it's like, it's just, I think it's going to be a new part of our industry, of our world, you know, because everything's becoming so digital, but we can still reach each other. And, you know, I'm just trying to set up, you know, I always heard if you're trying to live outside of corporate USA, like 5 streams of income, you know, so I'm just trying to like not be on the road all the time when I'm, you know, I'm looking at 40, you know, just turned 35, and it's like, I'm slow burning from here on out. You know what I'm saying? Like I'm doing everything with intention, as much intention as I can, and I'm trying to not. It's quality, not quantity. Playing shows, it's like I'm just not going to get out and kill myself and to play at a bar for drunks. Yeah. No offense to people that do that. I get drunk too, but I'm just saying I'm just saying like
you want to give your art to people who want it.
That want to be present, that really want to absorb the experience.
Or at least like a musician.
Yeah.
Actually, Joe Rogan was talking about how at his new comedy club he's about to open up, how he does not want to serve alcohol. And he said because you got to deal with drunk assholes who are there to get drunk and not to come listen to comedy.
That's right. Because, you know, when you take that on that alcohol, it numbs you.
Yeah.
It numbs you, and you're not really in that reality, the sober reality, you know. So,
that's actually really cool because it speaks to volumes to who you are as a person. That you're like, I'm not willing to water down my craft just because you want me to go tour to expose my album. It's like, well, if you really want me, here's my Patreon.
Yeah, you know.
Now you can hear my stories on there.
And I wish that that insight came from just listening to intuition, but that came from a lot of hard lessons, you know.
Dude, that's what's beautiful about life, though, is the ebbs and flows that teach you. You wouldn't have awesome songs if you didn't have struggle.
You're right.
Like if you just had beautiful life all the time, you'd be like, I got like one good song.
It's not real. It's not real life, you know. So it's you're right.
I think that's what was awesome about your new album. I hope you're gonna. I'm not to put any pressure on you. I hope you're gonna play one off that.
Sure.
Hopefully, maybe Golden Shore.
Sure.
But that new album was really fantastic because it talks about all of the just things we kind of come up against as a human or just as a person that, you know, we got to struggle with, like lust, and the 7 deadly sins is like a good like thing to kind of compare life to, like, you know, just not getting too cocky, not being too prideful, just whatever it is, like not getting too gluttonous and being King Rabbit. I love that song too, man. That song cracks me up. But yeah, I think it'd be cool if you play some music.
Sure. Yeah, it's like those 7 deadly sins. It's powerful when you really look at them because you're like, oh, these are really things that I need to work on.
Yeah.
And they really are deadly. They can be an undoing to like.
If you do any of them too much, it's deadly. So deadly.
Yeah.
And if you're doing more than one of them too much, then
you're just consumed with so much. Yeah, Golden Shores would be a great one. You know, when when talking about all this stuff, I was like, man, I don't want to seem preachy. You know, I don't want it to seem like I'm like I know everything. You know what I'm saying? Mm-hmm. So I wasn't even going to put this song on the record because it wasn't it wasn't in there yet. And Levi Lowry, the guy that produced the record, I'd played a live show at my friend Lawrence's house. We were both there. It's where we met, and I played this song, and he was like, man, we got to put this song on the record. And, you know, the first line is, I don't have it all figured out. I don't think anybody does. And I just want to say that, you know, to people listening and watching this.
It's literally my Instagram bio since the day I heard this song.
Oh, really?
Yes.
Yeah, I mean, we don't. And it's okay to, talk about what we believe with conviction and heart, but still hold the space for different points of views, because again, I think we're all looking through different filters, but the same light is shining through, you know. So I just always like to say that when I follow up any sort of soapbox or conversation like that, is because it's just you know, it's just easy to listen to somebody and be like, you know, like we're talking about boxing people in, and
yeah.
I'm just shutting
You
that.
could even be doing it, yeah.
Yeah, you know.
Yeah. And with having a podcast, that's something that I myself am even I don't want someone to be like, oh, you got a podcast, you're Mr.
You know everything, yeah.
You know everything.
Yeah.
Or oh, you lost a lot of weight, you're telling me how to lose weight now, blah, blah, blah. It's no, I'm
showing you it can be done.
Yeah. I don't have it all figured out. I don't think anybody does, but here's how I did it.
Yeah, we're here to learn, and this is my experience. We can learn from other people's experiences. Mm-hmm. It's okay. It's that's why it's important to know who you are, so you're not identifying through their experience. You're just okay, well that person did it that way. It's when we open our minds up to that way of thinking, we can learn anything.
Mm-hmm. Literally.
And that's a whole different rabbit hole of public education and the way that we think and consume information. It's we get in this, and with the phones, it's we're just consuming and regurgitating. We're consuming, we judge it, and then we regurgitate it. It's well, what if we just observed it? What if we just observed everything and didn't react? We could learn. It's just we could learn anything if we're just open to it, mm-hmm. and we don't put pressure on ourselves and give ourselves time. That's the biggest thing. It's what's one thing that you've put time into that you couldn't do? Nothing.
If you give it a year, literally, and you look back after you've been doing it for a year, even if you do it for an hour, oh wow,
I can do it.
I'm actually not bad at that.
Yeah, that is, to me, it's everyone. It's unlocking that in everybody, mm-hmm. because we all have that genius in us to filter that light into something, whatever we decide. And it's so empowering if you're willing to put your time and energy into something to be I'm not saying it's always going to turn out how you think it's going to, but something's going to happen.
Mm-hmm. Dude, if you listen to episode 1 of What the Shuck podcast, you will be that sounds like dog shit compared to
you mean
just the sound quality.
Oh yeah.
And just you can tell the substance is there, but just me giving an interview and just maybe me being just how many times I've learned how to just have a conversation without those filler words, to be more casual. I'm just talking to you, and I'm not putting. You just actually talked about it, not putting the pressure on yourself to be this is what I have to do. I'm just actually not having a podcast. I'm actually just having a conversation.
Yes, and we have a microphone.
Yeah.
I don't
even know it's there. Really.
Yeah, no, I know it's when you can get to that and not put the pressure on to have to regurgitate or be perfect. Yeah, man, it's again, we can do anything as humans if we just give ourselves time to figure it out, and so that's what I'm trying to tell my baby. So yeah, here's Golden Shores. I don't have it all figured out. I don't think anybody does. think the reason for our brief existence is to learn how to really love. It's a canyon going farther and farther, running away from the surface to the core, where your fear becomes weaker and weaker, and it's just the water and golden shores. Men fell in love with the Savior. They said that Jesus would bail them out. But then you blame it on the devil just to crucify rebels and never see what life is really about. It's a canyon going farther and farther, running away from the surface to the core, where your fear becomes weaker and weaker, and it's just the water and golden shores. It's just the water and golden shores. The serpent is always at your feet. There's always a knot to untie. Well, the farther you go, the more that you won't be as a body when you die. It's a canyon going farther and farther, running away from the surface to the core, where your fear becomes weaker and weaker, and it's just the water and golden shores. It's a canyon going farther and farther, running away from the surface to the core, where your fear becomes weaker and weaker, and it's just the water and golden shores. It's just the water and golden shores. I don't have it all figured out. I don't think anybody does.
Having a one-person concert with. Awesome.
Yeah, this
Jeez,
room
man.
is perfect for it.
It sounded like insane right there.
Like we're in a cave.
Sitting here.
Yeah.
Like you said, the Bat Cave.
Yeah.
I am Batman. Dude, that was sick. I guess we could do maybe one more song, and then I was hoping you would kind of talk a little bit about a new project that you were working on, that you kind of worked on a little bit last night.
Sure.
And then just, I know that you're going to take a break and talk about just being a father coming up, and we'll go ahead and close out.
Okay, cool. Yeah, we've been talking about psychedelics. It's a song about a psychedelic experience.
Excellent. I can't wait to go down this rabbit hole.
There's some psilocybin mushrooms that grow in the wild around here. They're called ovoid, and they grow in floodplains, like in the springtime. And if you know where to look, you can find like Kroger bags full of them in the springtime. And this song is just kind of about eating mushrooms and laying in the floor at the house and just like feeling, love with a woman you love, doing mushrooms with your baby.
Sounds like an excellent experience.
Or yeah, it was just warm and toasty, and yeah, it's gonna be cool.
Kroger.
Yeah, I'm telling you, I didn't eat them all. Again, anyway. It's called Cheek to Cheek, and it's not been released anywhere, but exclusive. Yeah, this is the first. I did it on another podcast I was on recently, actually. But so yeah, I guess this song is about to come to life, and I imagine it instrumentally being like maybe a psilocybin trip, like we're just out riding a rainbow or something. But
Dude, I sound down for the ride.
I'm starting a different song. Let's see. Just got home from Gatlinburg, I've been gone about a week. Before I laid my eyes upon her, we were dancing cheek to cheek. Bellwether's on the radio, just a blasting through the phone. We had a handful of fungus, and man, we were gone. And we blasted off on a kaleidoscope in the middle of our heads. We were feeling fine, like there was no time, and it felt like we were dead, except for the expansion in our chest. Like a separate entity. The weeds were gone and my mind's lawn from here to infinity. Next thing I knew, I was melted to the floor. I looked over at my honey, she said, let's eat a little more. And we blasted off on a kaleidoscope in the middle of our heads. We were feeling fine, like there was no time, except for the expansion in our chest. Now it's 8 hours later and the sun is coming up. We've been in incubation and all we've grown is love. And we blasted off on a kaleidoscope in the middle of our heads. We were feeling fine, like there was no time, and it felt like we were dead, except for the expansion in our chest. Yeah, what I think is going to be the new thing that's going to happen, as things like that become less decriminalized, and we're finding the science behind it and the true healing power of it. Instead of going from the drinking and the drugging, we're going to go to, Sturgill's already done it, with DMT, and he's been a huge influence on my life, and just like the things that he talks about, and like opening up just the possibilities for what songs can be and what you can write about. And it's but still be country.
I don't care what anyone says, I love Sound and Fury. I thought that album was, dude, when I went to his concert, that was my favorite concert with him and Chris Stapleton.
Really?
Or him and Tyler Childers. That was my favorite concert. I
heard it was a rock show. Like he like shredded.
I was really like,
yeah.
My face is not.
I think he's a real artist. He's not.
I think you're a real artist, man.
Thank you. I appreciate
that. You
that.
push those same parallels that he does, and I don't think you're scared to keep challenging yourself. I think it's incredibly encouraging.
Thank you. Well, I think that's what I love about it. The freedom that comes that is always there, just not boxing ourselves in.
You started a little bit earlier in our Sturgill, so maybe by the time that Sturgill's like 50 almost. Like,
He's not that old, is he?
he's like 45, dude. I'm pretty sure.
I thought he was early 40s.
I'm pretty sure he's like 45.
I didn't think, because I'm 35, so I just didn't think he was that much older. But
10 years, man. Imagine where.
Well, that's the thing about him and Stapleton for me. It's like, watching them. I've seen them from ground zero, at least from there, in comparison to where they're at now. I saw them in clubs in Lexington,
Exactly.
and so I've seen their timeline, and neither one of them, I feel like, really compromised who they were, and they waited until it was their time, and they were in their late 30s before things really broke, and I was like, so it just takes. I think we have these timelines we put in our heads for like when we think things are supposed to happen, and it helped me chill out because, man, I graduated college and Chris and I started playing at Redlands and we were wide open. It's like we felt like we were behind, we felt like we had catching up to do. And
if you wanted to be pop country, dude, the songs the reason I love where you all are now is I think that break for you all has allowed you all to kind of like go do your own thing, and because of that, I think that you all have became exponentially better artists.
Well, just who we are. We've become more ourselves.
Yes.
Without the influence of what people thought Sunday Best was supposed to be. We could just evolve as individuals and not have to work in these parameters that. Yeah. Which was great, and the thing.
I don't think that was ever your all's goal.
No, it wasn't. It just happened. It happened.
That's who you all are. I don't think you all are like. I think that's what I love about you all so much. Is it's just I think you all are really. You all love music and you want to be artists. Like it's just so. It's incredibly encouraging for someone who wants to be a musician. If anybody's listening, like if they are like, holy crap, like if that guy can do that, I can do that. Like,
that was what I think we both. Took from that whole experience was like, I can't speak for him entirely, but it's like, or at all, but just wanting music and dreams to be accessible to people, like that's what this whole thing is about. This whole podcast, is like just people out there. Like dreams, it can happen. You do the work and you put it in, you put the time in. Like I don't know what the timeline's going to be. But you get to the end of your life and you look at your whole body of work, and I think you'll be happy.
You don't put the paintbrush down, just keep painting. Like you'll see a masterpiece.
That's right. So
it's gonna look like shit. Maybe the first 10, 20 years, maybe even.
Maybe.
Like seriously.
Yeah, but it's like I look back at things that I used to cringe and be like, man, I was just a young kid trying to figure it out, and Yeah, it's hard when you're young and you're trying to figure it out and you have an audience and a gallery of people that want to project their opinions on you of who you should be or why they hate you for who you are, and it's hard.
I could never understand when, like you were talking about having haters, there would be people who I know that I'm Sunday Best, like, you don't know those guys.
Well, it's just like what you were talking about, like the tryhards,
yeah.
like saying that, like you're making fun of people because there's something in you that is
painting an insecurity on something.
Yeah, so
whether it's music or whatever it is that you're like pissed off about.
Yeah, it's like you're not really mad at me, bro. You're mad at yourself.
Yeah.
So
it's awesome you've learned to be combative towards that. Like luckily I've been able to with my journey. It was like just at a point in the last 3 years where Corona happened that I pretty much had blinders on already and was like, hey, I'm doing my own thing. Like I don't give a shit. Like you said, just building a wavelength around me that nothing comes in. That's bullshit.
And not oblivious. To me, I think
see it definitely, hear it, and I'm like, I don't want anything to do with it.
like that's poison people are just slinging around, and that's a heavy thing to carry,
Anything that encourages me more to be like, hey, I need to keep making the What's the Shuck podcast to make sure that guy doesn't do that, or I hope that you're like, I need to make more music to be like, hey.
Well, it's like people are going to talk. You can't.
Rather you have the best album or I have the best podcast in the world. people are gonna talk shit.
That's right. It doesn't matter. So it's just like, do your thing, do it from a place that you enjoy it, and nobody can touch that. If you're making something that your heart and soul is in and it makes you happy, and also serves a greater good that you know it does, F anybody that, as nicely as I can put it, it's like, it's just like, worry about your own shit, So it took me a long time to figure that out, to like be able to, and again, I'm still triggered. I'm a human, but it doesn't ruin my day. You know what I'm saying? It doesn't.
You get better each time.
You do. It's practice. It's a practice. Like you said, we circle back around to these things that we need to like work on. And when it happens, it's like, oh, that is again. That familiar feeling is there again. How am I going to react this time? And I think that things keep showing up until we transcend it, and then it can move on. So.
We keep having bullshit problems in our country, we keep having bullshit politicians, we keep having bullshit, like whatever it is, because we're not dealing with the problem.
Ourselves.
Every single thing in the world, if there's a problem, it's because of the choices we've chosen to make.
Mm-hmm. Within our lives, within our communities, and that's why every great civilization has fallen. It's because they got too cocky and they wanted someone else to, instead of having the hunger of the humans that built it. Mm-hmm. They rested on the laurels of their great grandparents, and we have to keep going. We have to keep evolving.
That's the kind of stuff that scares the shit out of me.
What?
Like thinking about that. Like people legitimately think that we as a country are bulletproof and that we can't be taken down. I'm like, just read history. We talked about it. You're political science. I was political science. We've read this stuff. We've talked about great empires falling.
Mm-hmm.
Like. It's not forever if you get cocky.
Well, there's a.
We have so much good shit.
I know. There's a line in the Marvels, one of the Marvel movies. I think it's you watch those? Mm-hmm. The Winter Soldier, mm-hmm. And it's the guy that's like he's like trying to pit everyone against each other. And he says, a country that falls from outside attack can come back. I'm paraphrasing, can come back, but a country that falls from within will never come back. And it really made me think about our country, and it's like, it's not going to be, maybe it's not a foreign enemy that we need to worry about.
It usually isn't.
It's ourselves, our arrogance and our, just this thought that things are just going exactly how they're supposed to, and that because we're safe now, that I'm not saying we should be paranoid and create problems, but we
just gotta be better to each other. Really.
Yeah,
it's just really what it is. Mm-hmm. It's like build stronger communities, be more educating, and like be more willing to help others that are going through something. They don't have to agree with what you agree with even. That's what's so crazy, is like we were talking about at the very beginning, it's like just because you want to help someone who's being oppressed in some way, there's people who are being oppressed in our area. So because I want to help them, as someone, like if I come up with this app program and I'm like, hey, I'm going to be helping people that are oppressed in Appalachia, someone will be like, you must be a Democrat then. It's like, what?
Yeah,
no,
exactly.
No, I just want to help people that are struggling to get better, to present to where the world's better.
Yeah, we don't have to label it, bro.
Yeah. What are you talking about, crazy guy?
Yeah.
Really? But anyway, you have one more song that you want to play, and then also, what are some projects you have coming up? I know that you were about to kind of take a little bit of a hiatus, so I'm very grateful that you got this opportunity.
Yeah, man, absolutely. I'm trying to think of a song. Okay, I'm gonna do this. Hopefully my voice will let me do it. I guess we're gonna stay on the drug topic. I love Fear and Loathing in Las Vegas. Yeah, and there's a lot of drug usage in that, and so I wrote this from like the perspective of Johnny Depp's character in the movie, and it's called Uppers and Downers. And just thinking about, in regards
Is this a new song too?
it's fairly new. It's unreleased, but just how everybody's using some sort of substance
That's definitely true.
in so many different forms as a solution, And Chris and I were talking last night, and he said he thinks that all of it can be medicine in some way in moderation, but moderation is not something that America, that is like the American way.
We're overconsumption.
Overconsumption. Yeah, we'll talk more, but that's our food system and like how something that I want to hear from our leaders is what's our food system? What's our farming system like, and how are we like in consumption of water? You know what I'm saying?
What if the Corona style thing happens to agriculture in 20 years, and like, are we prepared for that?
No. No. It's like we're pulling more water out of like these aquifers out, and apparently it's called the breadbasket. It's like the Midwest where all the farming and stuff, and there's becoming less farms. Farms are becoming bigger, and it's just like, man, that's our food. That's our food system, and we're just farming it like
Idiots, literally.
like there's no future.
Yeah,
like
literally,
with total disregard to.
Dude, that's what's scary too. Is it's like, dude, people know that the Earth is going to die in like 100 years, and they're like, dude, we literally can't stop global warming because we already.
I think that that
I hate to be like that.
No, I know. I think global warming. Obviously, I think that we can speed it up, but I also think that it happens. Like it fluctuates. So.
We talked about ancient civilizations. There's like things that would show that some of those ancient civilizations were actually knocked out by global warming in the past.
Yeah.
Great ice age, or there was like a meteor that hit Canada that actually.
Sorry about that, I have to wait till you leave.
Oh, okay. I thought
Okay.
that you were letting us. Okay.
Okay, sorry.
We didn't realize that.
I need to wait for you all.
Okay, we'll go ahead and end now then.
Okay.
Thank you, Miss. Thank you for that now. Well, you don't have to play the other songs.
Okay.
But where can everybody reach you? What's the big project that you're working on that I'm sure a lot of people are excited to hear about? And also talk about just where everybody can find you as a musician and your Patreon.
Yeah, patreon.com/Nicholas Jamerson. That's where I'm probably going to be focusing most of my online attention to the next year, and maybe just going forward in general. I'll still be on Instagram, Facebook, all that stuff. NicholasJamerson.com. I've got some merchandise going up through that. Getting back into the Sunday best swing a little bit, it's just time to revisit that, and we don't know in what capacity yet. Mm-hmm. It's not going to be a huge tour.
Yeah.
I don't know that COVID is going to allow that anyway, but just community driven stuff. We've talked about a show here in Prestonsburg as like the first one, and we haven't discussed that with the city or anything like that. We're just kind of dreaming and scheming right now, and really getting to know each other again, just integrating into each other's lives again. And he's back in Peaburg too, so I just think that we can do a lot of good for this area and for this just everybody. I think that there's that Sunday Best platform. There's so many people that love it, and it blows me away. And I'm just like so grateful for it that people are still interested, and we just want to use that for good. We want to bring people together with community driven action behind it, and I think just for me, I just want people to look at their neighbor and look at each other and not have such a guard up and just be like, hey, we all want the same things. It's hard growing up in these small towns when you've been through a lot of stuff with each other and you get to a point where you're just like, man, I'm tired of your shit. I've known you since we were 12.
Yeah.
You know? And, but we can't. Cancel culture is bullshit.
It is. It's total bullshit. We're stuck in this shit.
We are. And it's like, you can't just cancel someone out and be like they're living in a different world. And so I think that, that was a thing that was in my mind with Chris and I, It was never really, it wasn't, so many people wanted to make it about me and me against him because there was just two of us, but it was...
That's just the polarized world we live in.
Yeah, it's like that wasn't it.
You all were Joe Biden versus Donald Trump. It's like, what? No, we're both working for America.
Yeah,
we're kinfolk.
yeah, exactly.
We
needed to. We had to take that space, and things happen in life that.
I think it'll be good for Sunday best.
Yeah,
really
for sure, it already has been. Because we're just both like, man, I don't give a shit about so many things that we were caught up in. I just want to play. I want to play and have fun. And
I think the world needs you all too right now. I think this area needs you all.
Well, I think we all just need each other, and if that's the thing that brings people together, if that'll get these holler folks out, I'm not going to get in the way of that.
Yeah.
I'm not going to judge it and be like, well, I wish it was Nicholas Jamerson. It's like
the world is their church.
It's right, and I think that the thing about a band is like, it's not about one person. It's about a group. And we're all playing in a big band. We all got a part to play. And if you're not playing with each other, if you don't learn how to play with each other, then it just sounds like shit. So it's like, I think we're just, we've been so fortunate to have so much experience to take a break and then get to revisit and apply all the things that we know. What a gift. What a gift. And in our hometown, I just think that I don't know what's going to happen, but I'm excited for Sunday, for what's going to happen with Sunday Best and Star City of Prestonsburg, and people like you moving here, man, like it's a big deal. I hope you know that I'm like, it's like you're here for a reason. This is part of it, but
I have a big vision, and I know you're on that same wavelength.
Yeah.
So it's like that's why we're just getting the soldiers ready to go.
That's right. Assembling. It's like I feel like that's what these last couple of years has been. It's been a cleansing, and we're at this boiling point. But it's like, man, like you were ready. You were ready for Corona. I've been grinding. I was too. I was like, man, no, I've been working and I've been protecting my energy and like grounding myself in my truth and who I am and who I know I am. So now when all these things come at me, it's like, I hate it. I'm not comfortable all the time, but it's like, it's not me. I'm not going to get caught up in it. Try not to.
Yeah. Like
at least better than before. That's all we can do is just do better. So, I like I said, I don't know what's going to happen. We're about to hopefully December. She'll wait till December to get here, and I'm going to be in dad mode and just try to savor that as much as I can. So, I don't know how things are going to unfold, but I'm just going to try to let it happen and not try to take over the world or anything like that, because it's all right here. That's what Tyler Childers says, right? It's all right here.
Everything we need.
Yeah. All right here, all right now. So,
dude, I think that's an awesome way to close out. Thank you so much. With starting to do the new video editing and stuff like that, that's a new kind of thing that I've started doing, so it takes a little bit longer to edit, or especially I'm not very familiar with editing videos. So I'm not sure exactly when this will drop for listening or for you, but it will be in the next month, so it should be out by probably mid-November. But I'm really excited about this episode. It's been really fun. It's actually been my longest episode, but there's a lot of really cool stuff I'm going to talk about, and it's just been a lot of excellent, expanding conversations, and it actually lets me know that there's probably some more episodes that we have on hand. So it sounded like we could maybe just not even talk about music. So like,
Yeah, I prefer if we didn't.
yeah. That's why before we started this, I was like, "Do you want to bring your guitar?" Because I didn't want to just be like, "Hey, bring your guitar."
It's part of the story,
I know, but still, like. But anyway, thank you for listening to What's Shuck. Check Mr. Nicholas Jamerson out on Patreon and all of his social media platforms. Also, check me out on Apple Podcasts. About to be on Spotify. I'm on YouTube. I'm also on Facebook, YouTube, and also Instagram. But hope you all have a great day. Thank you to the Mountain Art Center for letting us use this center. Also, I'm really sorry to the precious lady who's been waiting for us to get done. She probably looked in here and I had this stupid jersey on and was probably like, what does that guy do?
Was she looking?
Also, okay, before I forgot, so there are like either 60 or 30 men in America. I know this is bad because it's a statistic, but it's about depression and men who commit suicide. So there's actually an astronomical amount of men every year who commit suicide, actually every day, every month. And it's just like, we really, really don't talk about these subjects. And we've talked about depression a lot, actually, so it kind of tied in very well. The reason I have this ridiculous mustache is to raise awareness for the suicide rate for men, and also prostate cancer and testicular cancer. So during all of November, I will be supporting this ugly mustache in raising awareness. My goal is to raise $2,000 for these causes. So I will be launching the stuff for that if you want to contribute. But it's a really big issue and something we don't really talk about a lot. So hit me up, follow this podcast, help raise awareness on this. Thank you, Nicholas Jamerson. Thank you, Mountain Art Center. Have a great day. Shutting her down.
Yeah.